Omari, how are you today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just surviving here right now.
Good.
One of the things that I really enjoy about Spell is really this look at to our past, where we come from, and making sure that even though we are prospering, that we never forget our childhood, our background. And I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you specifically for your character, because Eloise thinks that your character is uppity and has forgotten where he has come from. I wanted to ask you specifically with your successful career, how do you keep yourself grounded and always making sure that you know where you come from and keeping a piece of your identity and your roots with you?
Mm, that is a great question. Look at you.
I'm just out here. I'm just trying to give you the best questions, okay, for this great movie.
Good question. I a really good a really good memory helps. And maybe I should add to it an emotional memory. And what I mean by that is I tend to be nostalgic enough and musically oriented enough to, when hearing a song, for example, know exactly where I was, when I first heard the song, remembering what I felt when I first heard the song, what have you. And so for me, being a journeyman who definitely can relate to the moment where, in that great commercial years ago when Michael Jordan talks about, how many shots he's missed. So to accentuate how many shots he's made or how many championships he's won, really the commercial is about how much he didn't win. And I guess I've really lived a life where there's so much loss, literally in terms of death around me, for sure, but also just in terms of sort of being the dark horse. Michael Green years ago, who ironically was Chadwick Boseman's agent as well. Michael Green was my first agent, and he always said, "Yours will always be a fourth quarter victory, always." And so maybe there's that part of me that has that emotional memory, walking slowly from the first quarter of my life to the fourth quarter and remembering every person who mattered and everything that mattered in every city and every borough. And, I think about LA and people would go, you become big in Hollywood. Look what happened for you. And I'm like, yeah, but I remember 52nd and Budlong in South Central. Atlanta, it's become the next Hollywood. Do you feel like you're a part of that? You're like the first major dramatic actor outside of Chris Tucker, who's more comedic. How does that feel? Tyler Perry set up shop in your hometown. Feels incredible. But I remember Wesley Chapel and Snapfinger Woods, it's an emotional memory, and I move so slow through life. I move fast enough, but I definitely move slow enough to be able to stay as grounded as I guess you see me to be. I think that's what it is.
I appreciate that. I think we really do have to remember where we come from, because it helps us appreciate the wins that we have now and just the progress that we've made. But you have a lot of heavy lifting to do with this film. This film is intense. I had to pause a couple of times, get my breath together. I was just like, I cannot watch this right now. This is disrupting my spirit. I really want to ask you, as an actor, how challenging is it to really, you have to sell the intensity and really the horror of the situation that you're in many scenes, with not being able to interact with anyone else to really show that fear. So I really wanted to ask you, how did this role challenge you as an actor?
So it was so challenging. It started with Mark Tyneray, the film's director, and I'll share this with you, stating that as much as people had talked about all of the characters I'd played prior, and people have their favorites, I know I got the job on Power because Curtis had his favorite, and that being what I did with Next Day Air, and Shabu. People have loved Being Mary Jane. People have loved Gridiron Gang. People have caught The Guardian, caught Kick-Ass, the first Kick-Ass installment with Nick Cage. And I think when I look back on that, even the work with Ava DuVernay, in those small films, but big films, I think those are moments where you think all of those films, there has never been a director, and this is a shout out to Mark Tyneray, there's never been a director who had received me from a prior job and stated, I think you're rocking, but you haven't done enough. This dude met me in the 15th year of that career. And inclusive in that is having played a pretty bountiful guy that I think my team would say, I think even my colleagues now at Paramount, definitely my team of manager, agent, publicist, lawyer, I think they would all say like Ghost is up there with Walter White, shout outs to Bryan Cranston, or Tony Soprano, rest in peace, Gandolfini, or what Idris did with The Wire and Stringer Bell. Like he's up there with some of those guys, and so for him to come in saying that to me, he was like, yeah, everybody talks about not only Power, but everything else you've done, but I think it should be even this much bigger. I was like, wow. And I loved it. He was looking at my face because we were on FaceTime, this is pre-COVID. We were on FaceTime, and I don't think I gave away how excited I was that he actually challenged me in that way, but I was super excited. And so the challenge of this film was what you just stated, which is there's not a lot of castmate interaction at times. It was a beautiful moment when I had Loretta. But when I didn't have Loretta, it was like what people say, which is dance in front of the mirror like nobody's watching. But yet you're doing that in a dark way. Mm-hmm. So that dancing in front of the mirror like nobody's watching, but like in a dark way, is super hard. And of course, the music that I'm listening to in my mind in between takes is not that of joyous music, looking like Tika dancing and nobody's fool, like in front of the mirror with nobody watching. She nailed that adage, but how do you nail that adage in a horror psychological thriller space? That's really, really difficult. And that was a challenge for me. Absolutely.
Well, Omari, I think that you were so fantastic. I can't wait for everyone to see Spell when it comes out, but I really wanted to thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I truly do appreciate it.
All good. And thank you for your level of humility equally. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Peace.